The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
Whether she's walking the red carpet or doing interviews, you'll find her with celebrities and all the latest news. She's here, she's there, she's everywhere, she's always on the go. So sit back, relax, and get ready, 'cause it's the Corey Taylor Talks Show.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Corey Taylor Talks, live from Las Vegas, the #1 teen talk show. Today I am truly honored to have my guest on. She is an absolute classic, and everyone just knows and loves her. Such an amazing woman, and she is a new author of an amazing, incredible book that I am so excited to read, and I got to see some summaries about it and stuff, and it really just sounds amazing. And she is an incredible woman who has been through so much and has overcome everything, and is an amazing woman that has achieved so much in her life. So I have the one and only Joyce Bulifant with me. So hi, Joyce, how are you?
My goodness, I'm fine. What a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, of course. Thank you so much for being on. Like I said, truly an honor. It's just incredible to have you on.
Thank you, honey. Thank you.
And so, Joyce, why don't we get right into it? Like I said, you've had a huge career and some very high-profile marriages, which is also what your book is about. And the book is called My 4 Hollywood Husbands. So why don't you tell people about your career, and then also let's talk about your book, because that's what you're here to promote, and it sounds incredible.
Well, my goodness, my career, I think, is very long. It's about 60 years long. I started when I was 14 in summer stock, working my way up and doing everything from cleaning toilets to running the lights and the sound and acting, and then went on to New York and did Broadway and off-Broadway and television, and then 1962 moved to California and was put under contract there at Universal, where I had to do 8 shows a year, 1 pilot, and I could work it at the other studios also. So it's been a very magical, and I'm very grateful for my career.
Absolutely. And like I said, everyone in studio and stuff is so excited to have you on. They're like, oh my gosh, I love her. I think she's awesome. So, and you sound so sweet too, which is such a cool thing, you know, because unfortunately, when people do have such amazing careers and have been so blessed, they get kind of snobby and stuff. But you are such a sweet woman, so I'm really happy to also have that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Joyce, what I really think is incredible is not only are you so extremely talented, but you have overcome a lot. Even as a child, you had a very rough childhood and everything, but you overcame that and had, like you said, such an amazing life and career. But why don't you tell people a little bit about your childhood, too, because I don't think a lot of people know about that.
Well, my mother and father were divorced when I was very young. And my mother went to work and was too proud to ask to stay with my grandmother and my aunt, so she had to put me in an orphanage while she was working. And then after that, into different foster homes. And I got to live with her when I was in 3rd grade and 5th and 6th grade. That was all. But I must say that I don't feel poor little me at all, because I feel so grateful that I felt that I had a mother that loved me, and I had tremendous faith in a higher power. And then I used to, in 3rd grade, when I lived with my mother and she had to work, on my way home from school, I would stop at 2 different churches, and I'd just sit there in church and just feel a sense of being loved and taken care of. I don't know where that came from, but it's really helped me a lot.
Definitely. That's awesome. And I'm very happy to hear that as well. And then your book, which sounds awesome. I am so
Oh, thank
excited to
you.
read it. Why don't you tell people what your book's about?
Well, it's about alcoholism and codependency and the effects that it has on children.
Right.
And all of my husbands were alcoholics, and I had to learn that I was part of the problem because I am a codependent person, and I just fed into the disease of alcoholism. So I had an awful lot to learn. And when my husband that I've been in love with for so many years, he has been sober for 21 years, and that's why the marriage has worked. And I had to learn about boundaries, about not letting people be unkind to me, and that I could move on. And all of that story is intertwined with the golden years of Hollywood and New York Broadway theater, and all the important people I've met and famous people along the way, and along with a wonderful, incredible, miracle love story.
And, that is awesome. And you're such a positive person, and I think that's really such an important thing. And people go through a lot of struggles and stuff, but to remain positive and stuff and have to deal with the alcoholism, but also recognize yourself and realize that you needed to also take a step as well. And that's why I think everything overcame, and you do have such an awesome marriage. Where he's been sober for 21 years. But that does show yourself as well, and it was because you were positive and everything that you overcame it, and you saw a light, and that's awesome.
That's right, and I think it's so important to be positive in your life. It takes so much energy to be negative, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Or to be unkind. That just is not wasted energy.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And also, you also, if I'm not mistaken, you couldn't read as well, correct?
That's correct. When I was 12 years old and my mother and I were in front of the headmaster at a boarding school where I went, he asked me what I liked to read. And I couldn't read, and I had just been faking it. Every time I was asked to read in school, I would either drop my book, or I'd go to the bathroom, or I had a stomachache, or I lost my place. And I got by because I moved so much, too. And in front of this headmaster, he said, "What do you like to read?" And I couldn't think because I'd never read. But I did remember one school, a teacher read a Nancy Drew mystery story, and I thought I died and gone to heaven when I had that read to me. And so I said, "Nancy Drew mysteries." And my mother said, "You read that trash?" And I wanted to say, I don't even know how to read, and
Right.
I was so ashamed and so embarrassed. But I went to a wonderful school where they realized what was going on. And I had a teacher that spent time with me and helped me learn to read. And by doing theater and doing plays, that helped me learn to read more than anything else.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to ask that too. I'm also an actor myself, and reading, it is such a huge part of being an actor and acting because you have to memorize the scripts and everything. So I thought it would be more of a struggle, but you're saying it actually helped you. That's really cool.
Well, it helped me because suddenly just black letters on a white page had meaning. It wasn't just as if you were reading words. I was walking, and I was happy if I opened a door and the line was, "Come in, I'm glad to see you." Or the emotion was I walk over, open the door, and say, "Oh, come in, it's good to see you." When I wasn't happy, it had emotion behind it. It had meaning behind it. And that's what helped me.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. I think that's such a cool story, and like I said, that's something to overcome, and I think that's incredible that you are a woman of faith, and I am too. But you also, that's really a great thing that you learned how to do it, and that the plays helped you and scripts helped you. So I'm very happy to hear that. That's such a cool story.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm now the executive vice president of the Dyslexia Foundation.
Yes.
And started the term really learning difference instead of learning disability, because it isn't a disability, it's a different way to learn.
Right, yeah, I was going to bring that up because that is just amazing, absolutely amazing. Why don't you talk a little bit about the foundation and how it came to be, and how you got involved with it?
Well, another friend of mine who is also dyslexic wanted to start a foundation because his family was able to help him do that, and become involved with research so that we could have these different conferences with different doctors to learn about what they were studying. And then I started I did a documentary, 2 musical documentaries that I wrote and directed about famous people who are dyslexic. And then I spoke all over the United States about dyslexia.
Wow.
And I loved doing that. It was really very rewarding.
Yeah, and I had to say, too, honestly, until a few years ago, I didn't really know much about dyslexia and stuff. So I think it's really awesome that you have gotten the word out there and you're speaking about it, and the foundation to be the executive vice president. I mean, that's really, really a cool thing, and I think it brings a lot of attention to it. And I think it's a bigger problem than a lot of people realize, and it's more common than a lot of people realize.
Right. It's so important for parents to understand that it's not that their children are lazy or they're not trying. Every child goes to school wanting to get a gold star and wanting to succeed. Nobody goes to school not wanting to learn.
Of course. Yeah, definitely.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes. I'm here.
I'm just having such a hard time hearing you. I don't know whether it's your phone or me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me. We're trying to figure it out. Give me 1 second. Is this a little better?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So let's get into your career now and stuff, because, like we said, incredible career, almost too much to even think about. I mean, really, I was reading your resume. I was like, oh my goodness, you have done so much, and some really cool projects.
Thank you.
And so there's always, I wanted to say, like, Hollywood always seems so glamorous and amazing, but it also has a really big dark side as well and stuff, and I'm sure you saw that. So why don't you talk a little bit about some of the struggles you've had in Hollywood, or do you have any stories maybe that people could realize? Because I'm sure being a young woman in Hollywood, especially at that time, was a very difficult thing.
Well, it was at times, because I was trying to be a good mother and a good wife, and also work at something that I love doing. And of course, I think it's so important today for young women to realize with the Me Too movement,
yes,
that we do have to have our boundaries, and we have to be careful how we present ourselves to men, so that they don't get the wrong impression. And I did have a few instances where I would like to have said, please don't give me that wet, mushy kiss. I don't want you to do that. And I didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings, so I put up with it. And we shouldn't have to do that. No. And you don't have to do that. And I think because of the Me Too movement, we can speak up now in a very kind way. We just need to all be respectful of each other.
Exactly. We just have to treat each other like human beings.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I'm glad to hear you also support the Me Too movement, because that is a huge thing going on right now, and I'm sure for you to see that and see how far Hollywood has come is a really awesome thing for you as well.
Yes, it's very good. Sometimes it goes a little bit too far. That pendulum swings way too far one way, and now we've got to get it back on track, and
Right.
it's a good thing that it's come out.
Definitely. And so let's talk about some of the positive things as well. Like we said, worked on so many cool things. Do you have maybe actually the Mary Tyler Moore show, such an awesome show. Do you have any like maybe behind the scenes stories or something that really stuck out to you about that was fun or exciting?
Well, it was certainly fun to be on the show because they had such good writing. And so that
Right.
made it much easier to work when you have good lines to say. But what was funny is that I was a reoccurring character because I was doing on 2 other shows at the same time. And every time I would go back, it seemed as if the Ted Knight character had become more like Ted Baxter. I mean, he had actually become that person. It was so funny.
Wow.
And Gavin McLeod, we had a terrible earthquake in 1971, and we were 7 miles from the epicenter, and sweet Gavin McLeod, who played my husband Murray, came out with hot dogs all the way from Nathan's in New York to make sure we were okay.
Wow.
So they were wonderful people, and Betty White was so sweet. Valerie Harper was always saying, please let me help you with your lines. You know, everybody was just charming on that show. It was just a delight to work on it.
That's such a cool thing to hear, you know, because you always want to hope that everyone does actually get along, but you never know. So I'm very happy to hear that everyone got along with each other.
Yes, it was good.
Yeah, and I also wanted to bring up the Brady Bunch. You were, I believe you were offered the role as the mother in the Brady Bunch. What happened with that exactly? Because I know that was something. Yeah.
That was amazing. I not only offered the role, I accepted it and signed a 7-year contract. And for 2 weeks, I went out with the wardrobe lady, and we went to all the swell shops in Beverly Hills and picked out all the clothes. And the little girls were all cast to look like me and be my daughters. And Friday, before we were supposed to start shooting Monday, I was showing the director and the producer, Sherwood Schwartz, the wardrobe. And each time I would come out and say, this is the dress she wears in the garden wedding. And then I'd go back and say, this is the going away suit she wears. And this is the dress. And then they didn't say anything. They didn't say, well, do you have that in a different color? What about a scarf? Or what about earrings? And they always have something to say. They never just say, oh, that's fine, that's fine.
Right.
So I came out the last time I looked at them, I said, is something wrong? And they said, sit down a minute. They said, ABC in New York wants Florence Henderson for the role.
Oh.
And we are fighting for you because if you don't do it, we have to change the housekeeper. She's got to be the funny one. Right now, we have you as the funny person, and the housekeeper is the straight person. And we want it to be more like the Lucy show. And if Florence Henderson does it, it'll be more like the Donna Reed show. And we're fighting for you. And I didn't know what to say. You know, it's just I said, oh, okay. And then that night, Sherwood Schwartz came over and he said, we lost, you know. But you know what? I always felt when God closes a door, he opens a window. I've always felt that way, and that everything happens for a reason.
Definitely.
And of course, Florence was wonderful in the role, and it was very successful. And I went on to have my real live own Brady Bunch. Because I had 10 children, 14 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. So I'm very happy.
That is awesome. And your family is also very successful as well. Like you have a couple of sons who are a daughter who are very successful in the business as well, correct?
I do, yes. My son, John Asher, is a director and a writer and a producer and an actor, and he's just terrific. And then I have my stepdaughter, Rebecca Asher, who's a director, and then I have a son-in-law who's an editor. And it's exciting that everybody, that those three particularly are so involved. And then another son who makes guitars, absolutely gorgeous guitars.
Wow.
And everyone's very creative. It's like the United Nation of family. We have everything. We have gay, we have straight, we have black, we have Hispanic, we have Japanese. We all get along. We all have holidays together and have a great time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I have to ask too, because you, like we said, you've done so much. You've done a lot in film and TV, but you also have done a lot in stage. Which one do you prefer? Because they're very different types of things. So do you have a preference to any of them, or do you do all of them?
Well, I like all of them. My favorite, I love being on stage. I love that because you get the audience reaction right away. But you also get that when you do live, when you do what we used to call 3-camera TV,
Right.
And there's an audience. That's terrific because it's like doing a mini play every week. That's really fun.
That's true. Yeah. That's
But
very
movies are more difficult. It's a lot
Yeah.
of sitting around and waiting,
cool. Right.
and that's harder.
Yeah, of course. And out of everything, do you have just maybe one memory that sticks out the most, like a best memory? And I know that's a lot. I'm sure you have probably some incredible stories, but do you have just one maybe that really sticks out?
Well, there's one movie I did for Disney called The Happiest Millionaire, and I did a dance and got to sing with Leslie Ann Warren a song called Bayum Pum Pum, and that was great fun. But the most memorable thing for me was being able to act and dance with Fred Astaire,
Right.
and that was the best. I loved that. He was just a delightful and charming man.
That's great. I was going to ask about that because not a lot of people can say that. I mean, so that's very cool, and you're a very lucky woman, and I'm glad to hear that he's nice as well.
Oh, you know what? Years after we worked together, we were at a charity ball, and I was dancing with someone, and all of a sudden, this man cut in, and he said, "Hello, Joyce." He said, "I don't know if you remember me. I'm Fred Astaire." Can you imagine?
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
think that also shows you're a very memorable woman as well.
Well, thank you, honey. That's very sweet.
And I also had to ask about Helen Hayes. Now I know you said it started off as a fairy tale and sort of ended as a nightmare. Why don't you talk a little bit about your relationship with Helen Hayes as well?
Well, the First Lady of the American Theater, my mother-in-law,
Right.
it was an extremely close and very loving relationship, and a very tumultuous one. But it probably the closest bond I ever had with anyone. And it was very, very close. And then when her son and I, Jimmy, when we were divorced, it became very difficult through the years. And that's all through the book, our relationship.
Yeah, so you did, but you still did have a relationship with her even after the divorce?
I'm sorry, that was?
You still had a relationship with her after the divorce?
Oh, yes. We certainly did, because she was the grandmother of my two children.
True. Wow.
So I saw her often, sometimes happily, sometimes sadly.
Yeah, I'm sure. But that sounded like a very interesting relationship too. So we can read more about it in the book. So that's very
Yes.
cool. Another little
Yes.
reason to read it.
Right. I can't tell you everything.
Oh, of course, you had to leave some mystery to it.
Right.
But so yeah, let's go into the book a little bit more, because I really want to promote it, and I like I said, I really think a lot of people will enjoy this and think it's awesome. So, how did you even get into writing this book? What made you want to write it?
Well, so many people had told me that, hearing my stories and knowing my life, and so many people encouraged me to write it. And I thought, oh boy, that's so hard for me, I can't spell. And then when my husband, William Asher, and I were divorced, and I moved to Colorado to be near my two eldest children, I thought, what am I going to do that's creative? And then I thought, well, everybody said, write your book. So that was 24 years ago I started writing it. And first it was called Home Sweet Home, Where Is It? Because when I was 50, I'd lived in 50 homes, and when I was 75, I'd lived in 75 homes, and I could remember them all. And then through the years, as I kept writing, then it was called Don't Forget the Funny Bone, which is the only acting note that Helen ever gave me. And then I put it away for a while, and a friend called and said, I've got the title for your book. And he told me, and I said, that is the tackiest thing I've ever, that is just disgusting. I would never call my book that. And a couple of weeks went by, and I thought, yeah, but it might sell books. So
Right.
it's called My Four Hollywood Husbands. But then it took a whole different turn, and I really got into why I married them, how our life was, and about the alcoholism and the effects on children. And
Yeah.
I think it became a much more meaningful, grounded book. And woven through that is my love story, which is a beautiful love story
Definitely.
with my husband, Roger, and also the golden years of Hollywood in New York.
Wow. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And, it seems like such a positive book, and it's about positivity and survival. And, I mean, it really is so amazing. And I'm sure it will help a lot of people with codependency issues, and, like you said, with alcoholism and everything. So I think that's going to be a really incredible thing, and I really believe it will help a lot of people out there.
Thank you. I've had wonderful emails from people who've read it, and they've said it was very helpful, and I couldn't ask for anything more than that.
Well, that is awesome. And so why don't you tell people where they can actually get the book, and also where they can keep up to date with you, because you have such an amazing life, and I'm sure you just have a million more things to come. So where can people also keep up to date with you?
Well, you can get the book on Amazon.com, and that's really the best place to get it. I think it's the least expensive place to get it. And I have social media. I have I think they call it a fan page, under Joyce Bulifant, and Instagram and Twitter. And I have people that help me with that because I'm a dummy about it. And then I have a website, JoyceBulifant.com.
Perfect. And then also the Dyslexia Foundation, too. Where can people find out more about that and help with that?
Yes, absolutely. You can go online and look up the Dyslexia Foundation.
Awesome. Well, once again, Joyce, it was just an incredible honor to have you on. You were truly phenomenal.
You are so sweet. Thank you so much for inviting me on and being interested in my book. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much. And I really hope everyone goes out and buys it because I'm so excited about it. The second it comes out, I know I will. So it's going to be awesome.
Oh, thank you. It's out. You can get it now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm a little tired today. I'm still not caught up with the daylight savings time.
Right, that's right.
Well, thank you so much, Joyce, and have an incredible, incredible day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
And thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, please go check out the book, My Four Hollywood Husbands. It's about positivity and courage and everything, and that's exactly what my whole show is based on. So it was truly an honor having her on and to talk about it and discuss it, because it sounds amazing. So thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, never give up, always believe, and you'll achieve. Thank you, and God bless.